This is going to be like a vlog, so if you're interested in kind of like what's going on, I'm going to talk to him. He was talking about porting it. Someone looks like they've done a little bit of cleanup work. The billet one is the one we offer now because it flows so much more. It's more of a direct shot. If you look through this right here, you see it's got a wall on each side, especially this section right here. It forces the air over to the right on this. As we did a lot of R&D with this, I'll put a link to the video, but this is CNC made in the USA. We don't farm any of this stuff out. So I decided let's put the air on. We're going to be welding a lot today. Usually we have the doors open for one. It makes us feel like we're seeing the outside. We're going to make 6 more of these. This is the first portion here. If you see how we build these, we actually taper this material so it's the same diameter as the factory system. The tube on the factory goes from 3.5 down to it's actually like just over 2.75, but we're going to go to 3 inch. So not only is that a more common size, but if you do a slightly larger throttle body, that coupler fits nice. The gasket would be almost in this air jacket right here for the idle valve. So what we do is we build this up. I did put a lot of this in one of the videos that we talk about developing the S-tube. So we did a lot of 3D modeling and a lot of fluid dynamics to get the airflow and understand what we needed. This is obviously pressure drop showing you the actual flow data, stock S-tube versus one of our pretty heavily ported ones, and then the billet one, and then we played around with actually extending the throttle body further away, which wasn't dramatic enough for the amount of fitment. So that is what the stock one looks like right there, put into a 3D model. So it's really good to have access to this, and it gives us so much more of the data. This is the difference of porting it, the different sizes. Let's kick through it a little bit. This is basically what we did for our shape. This is the wall right here that we saw a big pressure differential, and we have a lot of fluid dynamics and airflow to back this up, and that's part of how we came up with some of the shaping. So this is the color that is on there now. We got a color, the one before said bright blue, and it was almost like a dark navy blue and didn't look good. And it did those first, so I said, you know what, just chuck that. I'll buy you some paint. That's not a good color. This is a good color. So Rust-Oleum, this is got the ceramic in there, so it holds up really well. I did the brakes on the S2000 the same. It worked really, really good. So that is it right there. This is pretty much done. It's just got to be cleaned up, but it's much, much larger now. It's opened up to a little over 70. But that shoulder there, which is usually what really hurts the flow, we take a bunch of that out. This takes so long, by the way. This is our throttle body that is going out too. It's modified to work with the S-tube. It has a different bracket right here. It pulls the cable from a slightly different direction. So looking at the Supercharger, the pulley that would usually go this way gets in the way of the end tank, so the end tank is here. So this has to be round and it pulls this way. I've been chasing a couple of cars over the last few weeks, and it's amazing just playing back and forth, trying to get all the information that you need, trying to come up with a price that you both agree on. So look out for that. I am definitely in pursuit of a C6 ZR1. So that will go out with the Supercharger. So quick on the ZR1, I'm looking for white is my first choice. Second choice, red. So right from the first day I saw one of these Civics, I said the wing has to be painted. The only car it works on is the black one. Obviously the wing is black, but on the blue car, that made all the difference. If you have a white car, red car, definitely look into painting your wing. I think it makes such the difference. The stock wheel is actually a pretty good looking wheel. I just don't think the semi-gloss does it justice. I think if it was painted in more of a gunmetal, it would really stand out and show the lines of it. It does a little bit now, it's clean. Remember when Civics used to have small brakes? I know I tend to be picky with these cars, but I wish they would have powder coated this red to match this. I don't know why it's separate. Well, probably this is made somewhere else other than this, and they're assembled at the factory, but this would have looked better. Also, if they would have finished this in black, I think it would have looked much better. It would have matched the front, which that has the two-piece, but it's black in the middle. I understand they're trying to save money here and there, but this is just some of those attention to detail things. All clean, washed them, dried them, hit them with bead maker. They look absolutely brand new. I mean, they have about 250 miles on them, so they should be, but I want him to see them and be really excited about them. I gotta get some coffee. I have a coffee every single morning at the house, and my wife switched coffee creamers, and the new one tastes like dirt. So I poured half of it out, and I'm really feeling it. I am dragging. I gotta go to Wawa and get some coffee. It sounds crazy, but it's 96 today, and it feels noticeably cooler than it did last couple of days, which is insane. I've lived in Florida. This is my 30th year living in Florida, and it feels like this is definitely the hottest summer. Esther's back. Let's find out what is going on with her neck. So this is a laundry basket. My wife wanted wheels added to it, which I did first thing this morning. You might have seen this on a past video. That was one of the things we recommended he does, and it's been a while. Yeah, that's it.
Everything's in there.
That's all right. Oh no, I'm just kidding. More about that later. So we recommended he do an oil drain, and he was going to buy a pan. Well, he just bought the pan, and that's how much he's leaked. He's been in here for probably 45 minutes cooling. Looks like a good pan to me.
Fresh off of eBay, but it's just a stamped steel piece. How bad could it be?
Yeah, as long as it fits. It's baffled.
Yeah.
Look at that. They make baffled D-series pens, but yeah, S2000s, we pay all kinds of money. I mean, it looks nice, doesn't
It even says it's a rep right there. Rep.
It's a, yeah, but look how nice it is.
No, it's definitely nice.
Looks
Feels
as-
heavy too.
Yeah, it looks as good as the factory one.
Maybe thicker. It's just flattened on the end.
Okay. All right, 4 tubes of Honda Bond. That should work. I'm gonna go in there and go help Esther pack the store because we're all trying to cover for each other right now. I wanna pass over to George. He's gonna show you what it looks like under here.
All right, under here, you can see that there. I'm half tempted to see if I can just break it off because I feel like I can. It doesn't really look like it's stuck on there whatsoever. And I think I'll go ahead and remake that line too because the whole thing just doesn't look very good. But we gotta get the downpipe off, which looks fairly accessible, and then get this replaced. Just drill that back in the same spot because you know it works. And something else I noticed he'll probably go ahead and try and fix. That's all the way over to one side. So let's see if I can't bend these hangers and get this over into the middle. All right, we've got our fitting. I'm gonna use that same trick I told you about in one of the last videos. I'm gonna use that to open up to the correct size. I've marked on the tool exactly where I wanna be, and then that size will get you to that lip there, and then that way I can weld it on the inside and the outside with ease. I got my hole marked in the pan with a pilot hole, and what I also like to do is if you drill this upside down, I clamped it to this board on my little horse here, and that's open. So when you drill it, it all falls out of the bottom. All right, hole opened up to the right size. We take that there, and when that goes in there, locks in right where you wanted it. Now we'll clean some paint off that, and then when John gets back with the welding gas, we'll weld this thing on. All right, so the pan is welded all the way around on the outside, and if you flip it around, weld it all the way around on the inside, and you can see all the burn through from the other side weld. I'm gonna wire brush all this off so there's no loose pieces, and then we'll tape off the fitting on the front side and give it a little coat of paint so it doesn't rust, because it's a steel fitting on a steel pan with steel rod. Sorry the welder's loud, it's a little warm. All right, there's that fresh coat of black. Do not paint the threads or that top angle there. That's your sealing surface. You don't want any paint on that. But that should not now rust, or that shouldn't rust now. I'll probably put a little bit of anti-seize on those threads just to be 100% sure, but now we're gonna put it on the car. All right, oil pan all back in. Looks better, drain back on. The brace is back on. Those bolts there in the bottom were missing, so those are actually bolts that mount the engine mount to the block on an S2000. They fit perfect. So that's all back together. Get the downpipe back on, get some oil in here, and we should be good to go.
We're going to let this sit for a few hours before we start it up. The oil is in it, but of course it's going to be sitting in the pan just so we don't worry about potentially having leaks. We'll give the Honda Bond a bit more time to cure. This should be a whole lot better now. It's been leaking a lot. Just for the few minutes that it was in here, it left a pretty good sized puddle on the floor. So this is pretty important. Like I said, this might be coming back for redoing the intercooler piping and maybe a smaller turbo. It's a little oversized for this motor. It could benefit from a faster spooling turbo with more power. A little bit lower down, a little bit more usable power. So the low was 89. It's consistently 101 right now, and that's with all the fans running. That's the hottest I've ever had it in the shop. I've been over 20 years in the shop. Never had it over 100 and just sit here all day with all the fans. I don't know about you, George. I'm just sweating.
Every time I walk away from the thing, I just come sit in front of the fan.
Yeah, I'm not a sweaty guy, and my arms are sweating when it's that hot. Oh, you want to chuck that one way in the distance? Yeah, now it's like an angle. Someone's going to tell you how to release that properly.
That's the way to do it properly. Get away from it.
Yeah, get away from it because you don't want to cut your arm.
Yeah. Well, you got a little finer tooth on this one than the last one.
It's supposed to be a bi-tooth.
It looks like it is.
Small tooth, large tooth. It's like 1824, I think they call it. Does it say what it is on it?
It might be on the thing over there.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
I think classic is the thread pitch.
Classic, yeah, it's a classic thread pitch. All right, so we got finished up a little bit early, and we don't have anything else coming in today. So George said, hey, can I do my brakes? So that's what he's going to do now on Uncle Ray. That's what it looked like. These brakes are 10-2?
Yeah.
Same as GSR?
Yeah, it's same as the GSR. It has basically EP3 brakes all the way around it.
And that's 11?
This is 11.8.
Okay, I'm going to say it looks kind of big for 11.
Yeah.
Nice. What size is the back?
10.3.
10 on the two. You got bigger on the back too, though, right?
No, that's going to be it on the back.
I was going to say, that doesn't look too bad.
That's up from a drum, so.
Yeah.
Not a very hard or difficult job now that I have all the parts fit. I'm pretty sure we've talked about this before. I'm swapping this over to 8th gen brakes. So these are 10.3 and I'm going to an 11.8. So I've got my calipers machined, I got the new rotors, drilled, I got the calipers painted blue. So I'll get this all together and get it on the car. Hopefully you can hear me all that racket John's making in the background, LOL. So there's the new rotor and there's the old rotor. All right, so there is the 11.8 inch 8th gen Civic brake installed. Looks a lot better, doesn't it?
Brakes are on, front brakes anyway. We're going to bleed these so he can leave, and I think he's going to paint the rear calipers at another time because kind of like what we do, we have to work in our own cars around work. Well, we finished up a little bit early, so he got to starting it a bit early, which is good. And it's actually cooled down now. It's almost 5 o'clock, and it's dropped down to 100. It did go to 102, so it's actually cooling down. All right, so the next morning I've been working on this video. There is the laundry thing finished with the casters on it. I didn't really do a detailed video because nobody wants to see that. Almost 10 to 9. George should be here soon. Already dropped off. First car for this morning is this right here. In fact, there's George right there. This is the guy that bought my wheels and he wanted an oil change. I said, you know what, bring it in. I don't know if you remember when I showed my finger getting hit on that fan Probably one of the most painful things ever. I was sticking my hand under here to make sure the fan was running and didn't realize there was a fan on the outside. That got me right on the end of the finger. And it took probably 3 months to heal. This is the filter that the Type R calls for. We have them in stock, but I called just in case the Type R had something different. Metal delivery for LHT. Yeah, like a 4x4 sheet, and then 4.5 strips for lids on the Supercharger manifolds. Looks very familiar. I don't know if I showed underneath our Civic, but this gives you an idea what it looks like. There's a lot of flat paneling, apart from the exhaust area, but then there's a lot up front, which means you got to take a bunch of things off to get to the oil filter. So this is what's crazy. There's 3 different fasteners that hold it on. You've got this here hex Phillips right here. Then you've got one of the quick release fasteners. Again here, a slightly different Phillips hex right there. Doesn't really look like it's got too much sparkly in it. Of course, it's the first change. Even though motors are pretty much ready to go from the factory, they still have assembly lube in there. There is still a small amount of material. It's amazing reading how many people have a different idea how much oil your Civic Type R takes. Quite interesting, between 4.2 and 5.7 according to some of these forums. This is completely overkill, but it's something that we like to do. You fill your filter. It gives it that slightly quicker build of oil pressure when you start it, especially because the oil filter faces downwards. It's not going to all leak out. All right, this one is done. Maybe next time you see this car, it might, I'm going to try and talk him into painting the wing. In fact, he watches our videos. John, paint the wing. Take it over to Superior, make sure the color match is perfect, and you'll probably see the new wheels on it next time it's in here too. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Don't forget, enjoy your cars.